Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Outdoor Gear Guy. Today I'm going to be talking about travel memoirs that relate to either the Appalachian Trail or the Pacific Crest Trail. What was worthwhile, what was less worthwhile, and what helped me prepare for my future section hike of the Appalachian Trail. My impression is that overall, useful, factual information to prepare you for the Appalachian Trail or the Pacific Crest Trail is often presented in a dry, boring way, like Earl Shaffer. On the other hand, adventure memoirs that make the Appalachian Trail and the Pacific Crest Trail seem exciting and romantic are often light on facts and skills you should master, like Cheryl Strayed. The one author who strikes the most favorable balance between providing facts and describing his adventure on the Appalachian Trail in an engaging way is Bill Bryson. If I were to give the authors labels to summarize their personalities, Bill Bryson is the journalist researcher, Cheryl Strayed is the Rockstar-Hedonist, and Earl Shaffer is a straight-laced Boy Scout / Eagle Scout. A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson came out in 1998. It's a funny travel memoir. I give it an overall score of 9 out of 10. I give it a 9 out of 10 for entertainment value, and I give it a 9 out of 10 in its usefulness for understanding the Appalachian Trail. It was the most funny of the three travel memoirs. Bryson describes mistakes that he made, including wearing jeans to hike the mountains in New Hampshire, which are useless when wet. Bryson started with a pack weight of 40 pounds, and his hiking partner Stephen Katz started with a heavier pack. Bryson is less of a purist than me. He stayed in both motels and shelters on the trail. Personally, I'm only going to be sleeping in a hammock and a down sleeping bag throughout the entire journey. I'm not going to be using motels whatsoever. And the worst thing to happen to Bryson was that he was separated from his hiking partner Katz one night after Katz walked off trail a few miles. The next travel memoir is Wild by Cheryl Strayed. It came out in 1995. Overall, I give it an 8.5 out of 10. For entertainment value, I give it a 9.5 out of 10. And I would say its usefulness for understanding the Pacific Crest Trail is a 7.5 out of 10. Strayed describes mistakes that she made, including carrying 70 pounds worth of gear in a backpack named quote-unquote monster, and having to burn the pages of her recreational reading in a feeble attempt to save weight. Another incident Strayed recounts is that she lost one of her hiking boots on the trail, and then she threw the other one away in frustration. Thankfully, REI sent her a replacement pair of Vask Sundowners. Strayed's Wild is the only hiking novel in this trio to feature a sensual sex story. Strayed is arguably the most incompetent outdoorsman of the three authors, with Bryson as the second most experienced and Shaffer as the most experienced. Strayed laid down on the ground without a tent in Castle Craig State Park in California. Black beetles crawled all over her. She had frogs walk on her in Crater Lake, Oregon. Strayed is also less of a purist than me. She stayed in indoor accommodations in Mojave, California. She stayed in indoor accommodations in Ridgecrest, California. She stayed in indoor accommodations in Kennedy Meadows, California. She stayed in indoor accommodations in Ashland, Oregon. She stayed in indoor accommodations Olali Lake, Oregon. And she stayed in indoor accommodations in Cascade Locks, Oregon. The worst thing to happen to Strayed on the trail is that she thought she would be raped by a hunter who got lost hiking near her. Thankfully, the hunter's friend called for him to leave before anything compromising could happen. The last book in the trio is Walking with Spring, the story that inspired thousands of Appalachian Trail thru hikers from 1948 by Earl Shaffer. Overall, I give it an 8 out of 10. For entertainment value, I give it a 6.5 out of 10, and its usefulness for understanding the Appalachian Trail, I give a 9.5 out of 10. If there was one title on this list that I risked not finishing, it would have been Walking with Spring. Once I got 75% finished, I could have stopped. I continued out of sheer determination to be able to add the title to my completed book list. The title is ironic. His description of the trip almost turned me off to doing the trip. According to ChatGPT, Schaffer encountered rainy or stormy weather 25 to 30% of his trip. He experienced frequent rain, fog and storms in the Smoky Mountains along the Tennessee and North Carolina border. Schaffer's is the most geographical in this trio, with Bill Bryson's Walk in the Woods as the second most geographical. Strayed briefly mentioned places she passed through, but didn't provide an earth science explanation like Bryson. Schaffer refers to the Indian origins of place names and describe how the map comes together. Another insight that I learned from Schaffer is that a shelter facing west is useful for hot weather, but it sleeps cold otherwise. Another aspect of Schaffer's book is that he didn't bring a down sleeping bag. At that time, plastic wasn't invented, and there was no way to keep it dry. Thankfully, today we have both synthetic stuff sacks as well as hydrophobic down, meaning down that resists getting wet, or if it does get wet, it keeps you warm regardless. Schaffer also provides some Captain Obvious advice, like don't sit on an anthill. Another useful piece of advice from Schaffer is that you want to wear pants to protect against bug bites. You want to wear pants to protect against snake bites. You want to wear pants to protect against poison ivy. And you want to wear pants to protect against sunburn. Schaffer encourages his readings to put on their fires after they are done and not to leave fires smoldering, and warns readers that New York State has heavy fines for the perpetrators of fires. The worst thing to happen to Schaffer on the trail is that he was bit by a dog on his forearm, and the dog's owner wouldn't take any responsibility, and the dog's owner threatened to call the police on him. On the other hand, Schaffer describes a lot of kind interactions with locals and park rangers. This is trail magic before the term was popularized. Neither Bill Bryson, Cheryl Strayed, or Earl Shaffer used bear canisters. The first bear canister was the Garcia machine bear-resistant container that was introduced in the late 1980s. Today, bear canisters are mandatory in Yosemite, the Adirondacks, some parts of the Pacific Crest Trail, and bear canisters are also mandatory on some parts of the Appalachian Trail. So to summarize, if you want a travel memoir by someone who's a journalist/researcher, you're going to want to read Bill Bryson's Walk in the Woods. If you want to read a travel memoir by a Rockstar-Hedonist, you're going to want to read Wild by Cheryl Strayed. And if you want to read a travel memoir by a straight-laced Boy Scout/Eagle Scout, you're going to want to read Walking with Spring, the story that inspired thousands of Appalachian Trail thru hikers. I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to your comments.